Warning: viewers' discretion is advised as this does contain mature or triggering content. Story prompt: Thankful. Title: Mundane isn't so bad. Gavin sighed as he rolled back from his desk. Good job today, someone said before moving to chat with another employee. It was the same, every time, every day, every evening. He'd leave, go get food and head home, then eat, watch some TV, get cleaned up, and then go to sleep just to wake up and repeat. Never changing, never ending, and forever mundane. That was a pretty good way to describe him. Dull, mundane. He didn't even have a girlfriend anymore. Even she got tired of him. She'd broken up with him, claiming he only cared about his work, and never gave her the time of day. He'd tried telling her that wasn't the case, that she didn't understand how hard he worked to support her. She was a spender, taking his money and using it for whatever she wished without stopping to think about the bills. Then again, she had come from a rich family, so it only made sense. Still, he had loved her, and she had made his day brighter with her cute moments. But when he found out, not even a day after their break, she was already with some other dude, it was clear that she hadn't actually loved him, only using him for the money he could give her after her parents had cut her off. He leaned back in his chair, staring at the ceiling of his workplace. What was he living for? He ran a hand over his face before collecting his stuff and heading to clock out like the rest of the people. Bright side, he at least didn't have to work late. He was feeling rather exhausted as it was. He said his goodbyes before getting into his car and thinking about what to eat for dinner. Rarely did he ever cook, but that came from working so many late nights. Just grabbing a bite to eat was easier. Chinese? He smiled. I haven't had that in a while. He headed for the closest Chinese restaurant. What can I get for you? He scanned through the menu, feeling a bit adventurous since it had been so long. Could I get a large order of chow mein with an order of egg rolls and honey walnut shrimp? Okay, that total will be $16.40. He pulls up to the window, handing the woman his card, and waits for his food. He hadn't noticed the car that had been following him since he'd left work. It pulled into a parking spot. Here you go, sir. Ah, thank you. Have a good evening, she said, and he smiled. I'm hoping to. You do the same. He felt pretty excited. He'd always ordered orange chicken and crab ragoons, but tonight he'd ordered several different things. As he left, the car followed him, but he still didn't pay it mind until he turned, heading down a road not often used, and the car was suddenly on his tail. What on earth are they doing? He frowned, moving to the side for them to pass, but he didn't expect them to pull alongside him and stick a gun out the window. He swerved in his panic, smacking straight into a large dumpster, his vision blurred as his head smashed into the steering wheel, his airbags not going off for some reason. The smell of his food and blood filled his nose, and he tried to shake off the pain he was in. His door was ripped open, and then someone grabbed him, roughly dragging him out of the car and across the ground. What are you doing? I don't have money. Shut up, Stone. Stone? His head hurt, and everything was still a blur. My name's Gavin, he muttered before passing out. Hours later. When Gavin came to, he instantly knew it hadn't been a dream. His body hurt, mainly his face. He was pretty sure something in his jaw was fractured from how swollen one side was. He could only see out of one eye, and wanted to scream, but his mouth was stuffed with a cloth. Oh hey, he's awake! Someone muttered before a few people appeared before him. Good morning, Agent Stone. Gavin shook his head, trying to talk around the gag, but nothing was understandable. You really let your guard down for once. It's laughable at how easy it was to get you, the woman said. Gavin shook his head again, tears coming from his eyes. What were they talking about? What should we do first? one of them asked with a smirk. Well, let's see if he wants to talk, the guy in the middle said, removing the gag, and Gavin began to cough. I'm not the stone guy. It was the first thing he muttered, and then he was punched in the jaw, his head snapping to the side, and fresh pain and tears filled his eyes. You talk when we say you talk, Agent Stone. Gavin coughed, spitting blood out as he shook. What was going on, and just who were these people? He wasn't some agent. He didn't dare try to tell them that again, for fear they'd punch him again. We want to know where the case is, the one who had punched him growled. He didn't know anything about a case. I don't... They punched him again, and now his jaw was on fire. I know nothing, he cried out, even though it was getting harder to talk with each punch to his face. Tell us where the case is, Stone. We don't have time to be messing around like this. Though I could beat you to the brink of death with ease, I still need you to talk. Gavin shook his head. I'm not this Agent Stone. I'm just a normal office worker, I swear. He flinched when one of them was getting ready to punch him again, but their leader stopped them. We can do a different form of torture. The other two smirked and he shivered. Moments ago, he'd been wondering what he was doing with his life, but right now, he was pretty sure he wouldn't have to worry about that any longer. He couldn't budge from the chair he was strapped to, and they brought out a hammer and a knife. So, want to talk now? Gavin's eyes grew wide as the man held the knife above one finger. I told you I don't... The knife slammed down on the tip of his finger, splitting his nail and hitting the bone, possibly even going through the bone, and he screamed. Feel like talking yet? The man asked, now holding the hammer up as he ripped the knife out from his finger. Gavin was hyperventilating now. The pain was horrible and tears blurred his vision. I don't... He muttered before the man slammed the hammer down into the finger that had just been stabbed. Gavin felt it, his split fingernail digging into his flesh, and his head spun with the pain. He heard the crunch that had come from it, and he knew his finger was broken. You have the wrong... Stab. Gavin screamed as yet another finger was stabbed through. His body shook from the pain. Never once had he felt such horrid pain. Even when he had broken his wrist, it hadn't been this bad. They asked him over and over again. But at this point, he was barely hanging on to his consciousness. He had given up trying to tell them he wasn't their guy. He'd lost count of how many fingers they'd stabbed and smashed. No, he just didn't want to think about it. His eyes fluttered close, and then a door busted open. Freeze! His eyes cracked open as gunfire broke out, and a part of him hoped a stray bullet would hit him. That way he didn't have to live through the pain anymore. You'll be okay now, someone muttered as he slipped into darkness. A few days later, Gavin awoke to bright lights and a white ceiling. The sound of beeping filled his ears. On top of pain, he began to panic slightly. Whoa, calm down. You're safe now. His eyes focused on the man that did indeed look similar to him, though the guy had slightly tanned flesh and was more muscular than Gavin. Who? He found it hard to talk. Just take it easy. Your jaw's broken, so talking is sort of out of the question for now. My name is Stone. I'm sorry you went through this because they were stupid. Gavin frowned. I know you have about 1,000,000 questions you'd like to ask, but that's something I can't do. You'll be stuck in the hospital for a while. Don't worry about the bills or your job. People were informed that you were kidnapped by a terrorist group. They were all rather worried about you, so they'll be coming to visit you. A terrorist group? He glanced towards his hands. At least their main focus had been his left hand. Only a couple of nails had been smashed beyond repair on his right hand. Thanks to you, we got them. You'll be handsomely rewarded for this. You honestly won't have to work for the rest of your life unless you want to. Gavin's frown never left his face. Why would... Stone held up his hand. It's all we can do for you. We'll cover all the bills, even those for your therapy sessions. You'll need physical and mental therapy. And I have to say, you did great getting through the torture. Gavin wanted to curse the man. It was his fault that he'd been put through this at all. The man left him alone after a while, and he fell asleep. When he woke up, a couple of people he worked with were there, in the room chatting. "Hey, Gavin," the guy said as he moved next to him. "I'm glad you're safe." Others circled the bed, all nodding. "Yeah, man, you have no idea how much work we have fallen behind on. You were like one of our main fast workers." "Make sure you heal up, and if you need someone to talk to, you've got us," one woman said with a soft smile. Gavin felt tears well up in his eyes. "Thank you," he muttered out, and they nodded. "We missed you, buddy. Even if we don't talk a lot, we enjoy your company." "No kidding. When you didn't show up to work or call in sick, even the boss was worried about you. And then there was a report on the news about a car being wrecked, and it was yours. We got even more worried." He smiled slightly through his tears and the pain. It seemed his life wasn't so mundane. He simply hadn't paid mind to those around him. But at least now, he had a second chance to keep living his life. The end. I hope you enjoyed this one. And yeah, I know, it's a weird kind of concept considering it's, Thanksgiving for a lot of people just around the corner. This is a different kind of thankful, okay? Yeah, this one's a little bit more on the dark side. But in all honesty, a lot of people forget to appreciate the life that they have. And it may seem mundane or dull and boring, but it's really not. And that's just one of those you need to take a moment to step back and smell the flower kind of things. But anyways, if you haven't, like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!